I think he was so concerned about what other people thought of the outside that he just lost focus that it's really the inside that needs more care. It was like you had to always look nice. It mattered to him so much. It almost became more important than anything else.
He thought he could silence her. That's the word spinning out of a tense publisher call this week where, according to multiple insiders, Kody Brown allegedly demanded Christine remove an entire chapter from her upcoming memoir. And not just any chapter, this one reportedly includes details of a fiery night that ended with Kody shouting about loyalty, control, and a $100,000 financial bombshell that left Christine stunned.
Important for him than substance? I think appearance was super important to him, and it was the appearance not just of himself, but of everybody and the whole big picture, and he wanted to portray this big picture and everything.
Sources close to the situation say he joined the virtual meeting uninvited, flanked by legal counsel, waving old paperwork he claimed would prevent publication of what he called character defamation. But Christine wasn't budging. She didn't flinch, and in that calm, spine-steady voice fans have come to know so well, she replied, "My truth stays." Her husband, David, standing just off screen, allegedly placed a color-coded binder beside her. Some say it held receipts, timelines, and draft notes, tracing the very incident Kody was now scrambling to erase.
I didn't realize, such a weird and embarrassing thing to admit, but my life was just wrapped up in what Kody needed and what he wanted and what the family needed and wanted.
From what we're hearing, this wasn't just about protecting his reputation, this was about money. That chapter reportedly describes a tense argument over missing funds tied to family accounts. Allegedly, Kody tried to convince the wives to chip in 6 figures to cover what he framed as a family emergency. But when Christine pushed back, insiders say he blew up, something the memoir doesn't shy away from detailing. The publisher, Gallery Books, has declined official comment, but insiders whisper that no one in the room seems surprised by Christine's resolve. After all, the book's title alone promises freedom, and backing down now would contradict everything she's been building. The drama didn't end with the meeting. Hours later, a suspicious new Instagram account posted a cryptic quote rumored to be from that very chapter. He called the cash an act of loyalty. I called it the price of my silence.
I was probably more fixated on that man than, it was like, even when he wasn't there, I'd be thinking, whenever he gets here, we're going to do this and this and this. Because he didn't just insert into my life. He didn't just do whatever we were doing. We had to change what we were doing.
No names, no context, but fans knew exactly who it was aimed at. And just like that, Christine's memoir went from a personal story to a full-on battleground. Now legal teams are circling, the manuscript clock is ticking, and Kody, he may have just guaranteed the chapter goes viral before the book even hits shelves. And that's when things started to unravel even faster. What Kody didn't seem to realize, at least not until it was far too late, is that trying to muzzle Christine might have only amplified her voice. By the following morning, whispers of the deleted chapter were all over fan forums, with one recurring phrase bubbling up again and again: $100,000. That number hit a nerve. According to sources close to the family, the figure refers to a cash demand Kody allegedly made shortly after Christine moved out, money he claimed was owed to help balance what he described as family obligations. But Christine, now living in Utah with her daughter Truly and rebuilding her life with David, refused to foot the bill. She allegedly told him, point blank, that his poor planning wasn't her debt to carry.
It feels like just this major injustice that is being done to me.
That's when the shouting started, and if what insiders claim is true, that moment and everything that followed is now immortalized in her memoir's most explosive chapter. The irony, of course, is that none of this would have gone public so soon if Kody hadn't tried to suppress it. His alleged threat to take legal action, to block publication, to protect the children, all of it only fueled curiosity. Fans started sleuthing. They noticed the timing lined up with Christine's September 2024 custody filing, which according to court trackers included retroactive support and even a petition to establish paternity. Why is that important? Because if this argument about money occurred during the time Christine was negotiating custody for Truly, then it's not just a dramatic family fight, it could have legal implications. And Kody's panic starts to make a whole lot more sense. What we're hearing now is that Christine's team anticipated this pushback months ago. That chapter, reportedly labeled When the Mask Slipped, had already gone through legal vetting before it was ever shown to the publisher. Sources say there are timestamps, text logs, and even a paper trail that matches the incident. It's not just a story, it's evidence. And the more Kody tries to bury it, the more it threatens to come back to life.
Christine is suing Kody in Utah for child support of Truly.
One insider joked, he didn't kill the chapter, he gave it fangs. And just as fans were beginning to absorb that, another detail slipped out, something that could tie this whole meltdown to a very specific transaction buried in a past bank record. But we'll get to that in a moment. To really understand the weight behind Kody's latest tantrum, you have to rewind to the moment he famously tried to reassert patriarchy in the family, on national television no less. It was season 17, just after Christine had announced she was leaving. Kody, visibly rattled, confessed to the camera that he expected obedience from his wives. That word obedience landed like a brick. Then came the quote that still sends shivers through longtime fans. "I'm the head of this family, and I need it to be that way again." The moment went viral for all the wrong reasons, and it painted a crystal clear picture of the man Christine had been trying to protect herself and her kids from. So when insiders now say that the deleted chapter describes a financial meltdown where Kody demanded Christine contribute $100,000 to help prop up Robyn's household, well, let's just say no one's blinking in disbelief. This isn't the first time Kody's been accused of controlling behavior, but insiders say this time it wasn't about rules or curfews, it was cold, hard cash. The argument, allegedly sparked by a shortfall in shared funds after Christine moved to Utah, reportedly escalated when she refused to cover what she saw as Robyn's spending. Sources close to Christine claim Kody called it a betrayal. Christine called it freedom. And in her memoir, she doesn't just describe the fight, she unpacks what that money symbolized. Years of emotional imbalance, manipulation, and unequal sacrifice.
You take Truly and you go to Utah, the most polygamy-unfriendly state in the union. You get a boyfriend who wants some of our money. And between you, your boyfriend, and the state of Utah, I lose any access to Truly and all my money because I've seen it happen to many, many people.
So that's your biggest fear?
Utah, a greedy boyfriend, a user, a greedy new husband, a user. Okay?
If this chapter survives Kody's legal threats, it could redefine how fans and maybe even TLC producers see the family dynamic altogether. And what's fascinating is how fast this moment has turned from private memory into public flashpoint. The line between real life and reality TV has always been blurry in the Brown household. But this feels different, because instead of just reacting to an episode, fans are reacting to Christine's voice. Not an edit, not a confessional, but her unfiltered account of what it cost her, literally and emotionally, to walk away. And while Kody scrambles behind closed doors to prevent the world from reading what's coming, word is Christine's team is already preparing to double down with proof. But what kind of proof are we talking about? That's where things take an even sharper turn. The proof, insiders claim, isn't just emotional, it's financial. Word behind the scenes is that Christine kept meticulous records in the months leading up to her departure. Screenshots, Venmo trails, handwritten logs of what was spent, what was requested, and who benefited most. And somewhere in that stack, sources say, is a flagged transaction labeled emergency family expense, one Christine allegedly pushed back on because it was never discussed with her in the first place. The amount? $100,000. Now here's where things get even more tangled. That flag transfer reportedly originated from an account tied to the Old Family LLC back when funds were pooled and Kody maintained executive control. But when Christine moved out, she says she lost visibility into how money was being moved and where. That's the part that stings. Christine's upcoming memoir reportedly dives into the moment she found out the transfer had already gone through, allegedly to cover outstanding debts tied to Robyn's home and personal expenses. Not family necessities, not shared debt, but private spending. And when she confronted Kody, according to early drafts of the chapter, he didn't deny it. Instead, he insisted she trust him to handle it.
According to legal documents obtained by In Touch, Christine, 52, filed the lawsuit on Monday, September 16th, and asked the court to establish paternity of the teenager as Kody, 55, currently isn't on her birth certificate.
That was the final straw. One insider said she realized in that moment she'd been funding a lifestyle she no longer belonged to, and that's when she started writing. First in a spiral notebook, then in a document labeled Timeline. That timeline, we're told, became the backbone of the book. The publisher, Gallery Books, allegedly reviewed every claim against emails, texts, and available records before locking the manuscript, which may be why they're standing firm, despite Kody's rumored threats of a cease and desist. Legal experts say unless Kody can prove actual defamation or breach of contract, he may be out of options. But that doesn't mean he won't try. Sources close to the situation suggest he's now considering filing a motion to suppress the chapter entirely, using the ongoing child support case as leverage. And just like that, the courtroom becomes the next battlefield. Because if Christine's side argues that the money in question directly affected her and Truly's standard of living, this isn't just a story, it's part of a custody narrative. And as for Truly, her name is about to resurface in ways Kody might not have expected. Christine's daughter Truly has always been somewhat shielded from the center of the storm, but that protective bubble is showing cracks. Ever since Christine filed for retroactive child support and formal paternity in late 2024, insiders say Kody's been deeply uncomfortable with how the court spotlight has begun to shift back to his absence. And now, with Truly's stunning appearance on Christine's recent Instagram post, a sunny snapshot from Big Rock Candy Mountain, fans aren't just commenting on how grown-up she looks, they're reading between the lines. One commenter wrote, "She looks so confident, so loved, it's like you can feel the peace in her face." Another added, "I love how she's blossomed with you and David." The post was meant to capture a lighthearted family outing, but it stirred something deeper in longtime viewers. Because the contrast is hard to miss, a 15-year-old girl beaming with her mom and stepdad, while her biological father is allegedly trying to suppress a chapter that explains why he wasn't there. Christine's caption might have seemed casual on the surface. "Give me a silly roadside stop, good snacks, and my people, and I'm all in," but fans read it as something else entirely. A quiet declaration of independence, a confirmation that life doesn't need to revolve around conflict or court orders to feel whole. And whether intentional or not, Truly's presence in the post landed like a silent mic drop. Insiders now say that Kody, after seeing the online response, became even more determined to regain control of the narrative. Some claim he's pushing for sealed court documents around the support dispute, fearing that excerpts from the memoir, especially ones involving Truly, could influence public sentiment or worse, legal outcomes. What he may not have counted on is that Christine's team is reportedly one step ahead. Sources whisper that any references to Truly in the manuscript were cleared through legal channels and written with care. No mudslinging, no accusations. Just her lived reality, seen through her mother's eyes, and if the chapter in question includes that $100,000 financial flare-up, then Christine may argue that omitting it would erase key context from their family history. And with the memoir locked in for September, the clock is ticking. But behind the scenes, something else is brewing, an offer that could flip the power dynamic one more time. Whispers out of Flagstaff suggest Kody may be preparing to make a private offer, one designed to keep that damning chapter from ever seeing daylight. Multiple insiders allege he's floated the idea of an off-the-record settlement, a financial resolution tied to Truly's college fund, but with strings attached. Those strings, a last-minute revision clause, or worse, a hush clause. The kind of non-disclosure agreement that once signed would prevent Christine from speaking publicly about certain financial matters moving forward, including that infamous $100,000 demand. According to someone close to Christine's team, the proposal came cloaked as a gesture of goodwill. But make no mistake, it was a pressure play. And if Kody thought dangling college tuition would force Christine's hand, well, he clearly hasn't been paying attention. Christine, by all accounts, is not interested in rewriting her truth to protect someone else's image. She's worked too hard to reclaim her voice, and those around her say she views the memoir not just as a personal project, but as a promise to the women who followed her journey for more than a decade. So when that quiet offer allegedly made its way to her inbox, sources say she read it, took a breath, and replied with 3 words: "My truth stays." That same day, she posted a lighthearted Instagram reel dancing in her kitchen with David while making pancakes. To most people, it was just another feel-good clip, but to those tracking the timeline, it felt like a victory lap. Not gloating, not petty, just peace and an unspoken message that no amount of hush money could buy her silence. Now there's speculation that Kody might escalate. Some insiders fear he could try to block promotional interviews or pursue a preemptive injunction, citing family privacy. But Christine's team reportedly anticipated these moves months ago. Every claim in the book is said to be backed by time-stamped communications and in some cases, bank statements. Nothing speculative, nothing salacious, just the truth as she lived it. And as the manuscript heads toward its final approval date this fall, the pressure is building. Because if Kody's last-ditch offer didn't work, what's his next move? And what happens if Christine drops a second excerpt before the release date? That's the part keeping people on edge. Rumor has it, a second excerpt is already in motion, and it might be even more damning than the first. Insiders close to Gallery Books say Christine's team is debating whether to release a teaser passage ahead of schedule, not just to build buzz, but as a strategic counterstrike. The logic? If Kody's camp is going to keep threatening legal action, better to put a sliver of the truth out there now, before lawyers start redlining the pages. And according to early whispers, the next excerpt could highlight Christine's emotional breaking point, not the argument, not the financial blow-up, but the quiet moment afterward, when she realized she was done living in fear of fallout. "I stopped trying to fix something I didn't break," she allegedly writes. "I stopped carrying shame that wasn't mine." Fans who've seen snippets say the tone shifts in this section. It's not just receipts and rants, it's reflection. That's part of why the publisher is so confident. The book doesn't lean into drama for spectacle. It tells the story of a woman who built her identity inside a system she thought was sacred and who chose to walk away anyway, even when it meant walking alone. That kind of narrative, especially when told by someone who's been underestimated for years, hits a cultural nerve, and it's already showing in the pre-order numbers. Sources familiar with early data say the book has quietly crept into the top rankings for nonfiction women's memoirs months before its September release. That's without a single press interview, book tour, or media push. Just Christine. Just the truth. And in true Christine fashion, she's been anything but obvious. No live rants, no scathing interviews, just the occasional quote, a quiet nod to her followers, and of course the photos, smiling with David, laughing with Truly, visiting roadside attractions that double as metaphors. One follower commented, "She's not just surviving, she's blooming." Another wrote, "You can see in her eyes, she's not scared of him anymore." If those pre-release excerpts continue, we may not have to wait until September to read the chapter. Kody's trying so hard to bury. And according to one well-placed publishing insider, we haven't even seen the spiciest section yet. That reveal they teased will be an absolute reckoning. And guess what? Christine might be saving it for last. That final reveal, according to insiders, isn't just a closing thought. It's the chapter Christine reportedly wrote after the original manuscript was already finished, a postscript of sorts. A late-night addition she made following her legal team's final green light when she realized there was one more truth she couldn't keep to herself. Sources who've seen the draft describe it as raw, direct, and far more personal than anything else in the book. It allegedly includes a quiet breakdown moment. Christine alone, sitting on the floor of her Utah home, holding a letter she'd written but never sent. A letter to Kody, and not to rage or relitigate, but to release. "You don't owe me respect," she allegedly writes, "but you owe our daughter peace." And the truth is part of that. According to those who've read the passage, it's the emotional heart of the memoir, the one part even Christine hesitated to share. But she is sharing it, and that decision may be what finally cements this memoir as more than just a celebrity tell-all, because it's not about revenge, it's about reclaiming space for herself, for her daughters, for any woman who's ever been told to keep quiet for the sake of keeping the peace. The release timing isn't accidental either. September marks the 4-year anniversary of her official split from Kody. What was once a silent goodbye in a private driveway is now a public reckoning in hardcover, and fans are ready. Comments under her latest post say it all. "Can't wait to read your truth. This is the book we've all been waiting for," and simply, "Thank you for not backing down." Still, Kody hasn't made his last move. Rumors continue swirling that he may use TLC as a shield, refusing to film if the network promotes Christine's book or allows her to speak freely about it on camera. One producer allegedly called his stance a losing battle, because at this point, the power dynamic has shifted. Christine has the audience, she has the receipts, and most of all, she has the momentum. What was once a quiet rebellion is now a movement, and it's gaining speed. But how will this ripple through the rest of the Sister Wives universe? That's where things get especially juicy. Inside sources at TLC are reportedly scrambling. Word is the network didn't expect this memoir to land with such seismic force, and now they're facing a dilemma. Season 20 is already in early development, but producers are allegedly reworking the entire storyline to respond to Christine's upcoming book. One insider even called it the elephant in every scene. The problem? Kody is rumored to be threatening to walk if the show even mentions the memoir on camera. He's reportedly furious that the franchise he once dominated has turned into a spotlight for his exes, Christine in particular. And yet, Christine's side isn't asking for screen time. She's got something far better, a direct line to the audience, with no producers shaping her words, no edits muting her voice. That's a power Kody never saw coming. Meanwhile, fans are rallying around what some are calling the sister wife era of reckoning. Janelle was the first to publicly support Christine's book with a subtle like on Instagram. Mary, too, has hinted at a memoir of her own, though she said she wants to write from a healed perspective, not the painful one she suspects fans crave. But Robyn? Not a peep. Her social accounts have gone eerily quiet, and insiders say her inner circle is on lockdown. Some speculate that Robyn's silence is less about loyalty and more about fear, because if Christine's version of events gains traction, Robyn's long-standing reputation as Kody's favorite could take a serious hit. Especially if the leaked chapter truly points to family funds being diverted toward her household. And here's the twist producers reportedly didn't plan for. Fans don't want spin anymore. They want answers. And more than that, they want accountability. TLC is now said to be eyeing a Christine-centered spin-off, one that would follow her life post-Kody, with David, Truly, and even some of the older Brown kids making appearances. Nothing's confirmed yet, but whispers inside the industry suggest this could be the next evolution of the franchise. And if that happens, Kody's grip on the Sister Wives legacy might loosen for good. But while the network negotiates, Christine's already won the court of public opinion. And just when it looked like the dust might settle, something unexpected surfaced that turned everything upside down. A photo. That's what did it. Not a press release, not a legal update. A single photo that had fans doing a double take and whispering, "Is that who we think it is?" Christine, ever the expert at sharing without oversharing, uploaded a fresh batch of Instagram snapshots from her family outing to Big Rock Candy Mountain. The post was lighthearted, cheerful, full of candy-colored scenery and sunshine. But nestled in that carousel, third photo in, was the image that sent fans into a frenzy. Truly Brown, no longer the little girl many remembered, standing tall, confident, and undeniably transformed. Gone was the shy tween of earlier seasons. In her place was a poised 15-year-old, glowing with the kind of calm that only comes from being truly seen and supported. The comments exploded. Is that truly? She's grown up beautifully. I remember when she was in diapers, and now she's a whole young woman. You can see the peace in her. That's all Christine. And that's where the tone shifted. What began as admiration quickly turned reflective. Fans started connecting the dots between Truly's quiet evolution and Christine's courageous exit. That glow? Many credited it to David, now her stepdad, and Christine's decision to build a home that centered safety, stability, and joy. One follower wrote, "The glow-up isn't just hers, it's Christine's too. This is what healing looks like." But buried in the fanfare was a deeper, more serious undercurrent. Because with Truly stepping so clearly into view, the stakes around the memoir's release got higher, not just emotionally, but legally. Some insiders believe the photo, innocent as it seemed, may have prompted Kody's legal team to reevaluate the strategy around Christine's custody and child support case, especially since Truly's birth certificate still reportedly omits his name and Christine's recent court filings request to have that corrected. Whether the post was timed or totally organic, the ripple effect was immediate. Sources say Kody is now concerned that any depiction of his parenting or lack thereof in the memoir, combined with current images of a thriving Truly, could shape public sentiment and legal decisions. And this is where things come full circle. Because while Kody allegedly scrambles to regain narrative control through attorneys and closed-door negotiations, Christine just keeps living, posting, smiling, and inching closer to release day with each passing week. But there's one final card she hasn't played yet, and when she does, it might just shake the entire franchise. With the release date now locked for mid-September, Christine is entering her final countdown, and she's doing it with the quiet poise of a woman who no longer needs permission to speak. The book, barring any unexpected legal blockades, is headed to press, and insiders say she's already recorded the audiobook, word for word in her own voice. No edits, no softening, just raw, resolute honesty. And while Kody reportedly continues to explore his dwindling options, pressuring TLC, consulting attorneys, even floating the idea of an emergency family meeting, sources say it's becoming increasingly clear that the tide has turned. The narrative is no longer his to shape. If anything, the harder he pulls, the more Christine's story takes root. What fans are responding to isn't just the drama, it's the dignity. This isn't a revenge memoir, despite what some headlines might suggest. It's a reclamation. A woman looking back at a life she gave everything to, only to realize she was never going to be prioritized within it. And yet she's not bitter, not cruel, just done. And that clarity radiates through every post, every update, and every public moment she shares. There's a weight to that kind of closure. And as more women over 50 see themselves in her story, the long relationships, the quiet compromises, the moment they finally say enough, it's no wonder Christine's memoir is being pre-ordered in droves. Of course, the final question still lingers. What hasn't she told us yet? Because insiders insist the chapter Kody tried to delete wasn't the only one he asked her to soften. There's talk of an epilogue bombshell, a final passage that names names, exposes the root of the financial manipulation, and leaves no room for reinterpretation. It's possible it never makes it into the printed version, but if it does, this could be the moment the entire Sister Wives legacy gets reframed. Not just a reality TV story, but a generational shift in how women reclaim their power financially, emotionally, and publicly. And something tells me Kody knows it's coming. What do you think? Is Kody truly afraid of what's inside that book, or just the fact that he can't control it anymore? And if Christine does release that final passage, should she name names or let readers connect the dots themselves? Don't forget to like, subscribe, and stay tuned. The next video on your screen is waiting, and trust me, you won't want to miss it.